Still trying to throw the ball. On first and goal, second and goal. Panicking at third. Fourth, I'm wishing for a muff.
Welcome to the 5-1 Huddle Podcast. It's your host, Isaiah, with Coach Dlane. Excited for a new podcast for y'all today. We got combine talk. We're talking, we got quarterbacks, tight ends, receivers. We're recording this on a Saturday. Man, a lot of big topics for you. We also got Victor James here, head of Proven Grounds Training. He's going to fill us in on all the inside, the training, the type of things he does, to get guys ready for Combine Pro Days. Excited for that interview, and he's along with the pod with us today. Coach Dlane, how you feeling?
Man, I'm excited to be here, man. We're bringing some new work for you guys. Let's talk football, Coach James.
Let's get to it.
Excited to be here again for you guys today. It's episode 4. I got my man, Coach James here, my guy, Vic. Yeah, man, I'm excited to be here. A big bro of mine, DJ Gomes, linked me with Coach James during this off season so I can get some extra work as a young coach. I told him I was reaching out to find ways to keep working and find ways to tap into the craft, of football and coaching. I got linked up with Coach James, and we having a good deal so far right now on the 7-on-7 circuit.
Oh, yeah, man. I'm excited for this interview. We're going to get into the depth of, we got the Combine going on today, Saturday. We're recording this. We had a lot of big times come up today. So, I want to get started. So, Victor, what got you into starting Proven Grounds?
So I started the company. I was a teacher at first, so I taught science, and students would ask me or heard about my sports background, and so they'd ask me, for some advice, and one kid turned into 3 kids, turned into 5 kids, and then it got to the point where I had to decide if I wanted to continue teaching or I couldn't do both at the same time, so I chose the training.
Oh, yeah, the entrepreneur life, man. Got to respect it.
Starting off, let's start off with your playing career a little bit. I know you played quarterback, right, in high school. Let's talk about, because me and Zay both played on the offense. I played on the offense and defense side of the ball in high school, but neither one of us played quarterback. So can you please tell us how was the quarterback recruiting process like for you?
So for me personally, when I was a freshman, I was 5'3", like 1-14. So there was no recruiting process. Okay. By the time I left high school, I was like 5'11", 6 feet, 185. So it was a massive growth, but where I need to be at the timeline of my recruiting, I was a junior, I was 5'9", I'm not Kyler Murray fast at 16. So I had to walk on to the University of New Mexico. I didn't know enough about recruiting at the time. I actually talked to my dad about this recently, where I didn't start sending out tapes till after my senior year, which is way too late. By the time February hits, they're on to the next class. They're not even looking at seniors anymore. So when the schools I was talking to, they all liked my film, but they just didn't have any room for me.
So how was your playing time at University of New Mexico? What was the process? I know you're a walk-on, so it's a little different than players getting recruited. So what was that process like?
So it's different because the quarterback position is different in the fact that only one guy plays. You have situations where you have 2 quarterbacks playing, and usually the second guy coming in is a wildcat quarterback or something. So there's not really a comparison. They can't say which guy is better because they're using them in different ways. So for me, as a walk-on, you had to just scratch and claw for every opportunity. I came in with a highly recruited guy. He was 3rd in the state of Texas, 15 in the country. He was my roommate, good friend of mine, still to this day. But as a coach that comes in, they want their guy. If they're going to win or if they're going to keep their job or lose their job, they want to do it at their hand, not a guy that just walks in the door. So there was just a lot of a lot of hurdles along the way. I just keep it like that.
Let's try to transition to the point where you made the change from quarterback to receiver. How was that? How was going from the? I know you probably had a significant advantage as well. You know, knowing the route tree and everything, being at quarterback. So how was that transition for you from quarterback to receiver? Your senior year, correct?
My senior year. So I had 4 offenses in 5 years I was at New Mexico. Learned a lot of football, a lot of different styles. It's actually helped me on this side now where New Mexico is a stepping stool school where it's not a destination. It's not Ohio State, it's not Florida, it's not Alabama. So every coach there is trying to get somewhere else. For example, my head coach in my senior year was the OC at Alabama. Mike Loxley is now the head coach at Maryland. My quarterback coach was T. Martin, who's now OC at Tennessee.
I know T. Martin.
Yeah. But the transition to quarterback, by the time I got to my senior year, I saw the writing on the wall. There weren't going to be many quarterback opportunities coming to me. So I talked to my coaches and decided to make a change. And pretty much was not a natural receiver.
Vic, I was just gonna ask you that because I done had like quarterbacks on the college level switch positions, running back or receiver. You know, you gonna get your ass made fun of at first. Like, what you coming from the quarterback room over here? But I done seen some, be able to ball too when they make the change.
Stand back, did a great job with it.
Okay. Julian
Edelman, local guy DeAndre Burrell. He was a Utah State quarterback. Played with the Titans and the Packers. Natural, great hands.
Okay.
I lived on the jug machine. I had to. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I can name a few that. I mean, it seems like QB to receiver is like doesn't seem as hard as other positions because of the understanding. Like you've seen even older players like Ronald Curry used to play for the Raiders. We listed a few. Do you think it's because of knowing the offense already, and it's just more just learning the ins and outs of the route tree?
It's tough. I guess the easiest way I would describe it is at quarterback, the way they teach you is completely different as well. So at quarterback in the room, you have to learn defensive coverage, offensive pass blocking schemes, whether it's 5, 6, 7, 8 man protections. You need to know what routes are coming, what blitz packages are happening week to week. At receiver, you just need to learn the receiver concepts. Or like on this concept, I have this route. Yeah. So you're missing all of that other stuff. And so the quarterback's looking at the picture, the receiver is the picture.
That's a great way to put it.
I can see as a quarterback, I don't even necessarily need to know. I don't necessarily know like which receiver in particular is going to be in which spot. I know where the windows are where my progression happens. Where at receiver, that's the first thing you have to learn is like, okay, I have a curl route, but is the window's going to be a little bit different in cover 3 than it is in cover 2. How do I run it versus man? Do I push that guy off? All those things, the nuances you just have to learn with time.
No, that's definitely true.
Yeah.
So after your time playing receiver at your senior year at New Mexico, how was that the process after trying to get to the next level?
It was probably a lot easier than it would have been playing quarterback. It probably wasn't going to be an opportunity. So I continued to work regardless of my circumstances in college and was able to put up some really good numbers physically as a receiver. So I was that helped a lot because I still skill-wise I wasn't where I needed to be as a receiver. So, but I was a special teams nightmare. And that gave me an opportunity.
To piggyback a little bit back on the college time real quick, Vic, how was the transition? Because I'm from Oakland, Zay's from Oakland. And where'd you go again, Zay, for your first year in college?
Grandview University out there in Iowa.
Iowa, okay. You're coming from Colorado and you're going to New Mexico. I was coming from Oakland, Louisiana. It was a crazy culture shock, change of scenery, the whole 9.
Yeah.
How was that experience for you, coming from Colorado all the way down to New Mexico?
It's definitely different. In all ways, the terrain is different. It's a desert. The demographics are different. It's mainly like, I want to say it's majority white, then you have Indians and Hispanics, and not very many black people. So that was different. Like where we at?
So Vic, can you give us a little bit about your time you had when you spent with Seattle and when you signed your free agent contract with Seattle? How was that time and experience over there?
So the NFL it was a great experience, just getting a chance to be around the best football players in the world. But you learn real fast that it's a business. So there was plenty of practices. So that was Pete Carroll's first year there, and so he's trying to put a team together. I want to say I read somewhere later that he had set the record for like most transactions in a year, where he was playing fantasy football with a real squad trying to get his pieces together. And there'll be times you go into practice and they're trying out your position, or I'm trying to go and get extra work, and one of the quality control coaches was like a GA for the pros. He calls and says, "Hey, they want to see you run routes X, Y, and Z." Like, who is they? I turn around and open the window. The GM, head coach, looking, watching me work. And I'm like, all right,
Always
let's get to it. Yeah,
evaluated.
always getting evaluated. So you have to learn how to just always be on your game at all times. Yeah.
Definitely.
I feel like that's the crazy business part about it. Like you're saying, like you just trying to get extra work after practice,
Right.
but it's not. You feel like, okay, it's my me time. I can make mistakes a lot. No, it's always.
Yes.
That's very it's good insight.
You also spent a little time in the CFL as well as Arena League too,
Right.
Arena Football. So can you tell us a little bit about how do you feel about these new leagues that's starting as far as the AAF, and then we got the XFL trying to make a comeback in
Right.
another year or two. How you feel about these other leagues and some of these younger players just getting another opportunity, a chance to keep playing with these leagues being created?
It's huge, man, because there's a lot of good football players out there that are a year or two away from becoming where they need to be, and until now there wasn't any lasting places to do that. You can go overseas, and that's not really the level of competition is not high enough for the NFL to even waste their time looking. So I think it's a good deal. They need to. The biggest thing the AAF did, they're on TV, so they can get their content to the fans, which is huge. And they just gotta. The next thing they need to have this first group. There needs to be 2, 3, 4, 5 players that go to the NFL next year and produce and become household names. That will help to bring the success of the league up.
Oh yeah, I think that would definitely help the league. Maybe seeing Johnny Manziel in his contract with CFL, just getting big names in there
Right.
helps. And then, like you said, that was so and so on the AF, like Jaquan Gardner. We seen him. I think he's from the Humboldt State. Like if he goes, that was on our rusher. Oh,
Yeah.
that came from the AF. So
Right.
I think that'd be big, man. Yeah. So we're gonna get into what you do now is it's called Proving Grounds.
Yes.
Can you tell us about Proving Grounds? What you do?
So Proving Grounds Sports Performance is a business located in Pleasanton, not too far from here. I focus on athletic development. Every sport, regardless of what it is, you need to, if you can get stronger, faster, more coordination, all those things, you're going to become a better player. Basketball, baseball, doesn't matter. And then, but in particular with football, I can add the skill sets of quarterbacks, receivers, DBs. I can help those kids get to however far their ambition wants them to as well. And then along with that, I do quarterback training.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
I feel like that's very unique. How has so since you've been doing Proving Grounds, is there is there any athlete that you work with that you feel like has been special to you in your time?
Of course, I can't call out no names.
Yeah.
What about players just made some great
You don't have to say
strides,
names.
progression?
I've had, there's
You've had a few, yeah.
in the local high schools, there's at the freshman level it's called the fifth quarter, where it's for the players who want to play football. They're not good enough to contribute during the time that the game is determined, the wins and losses. So they have an extra quarter for those guys to just get reps. So I've taken kids from the fifth quarter and made them starters and
Turned them into impact players.
Right, and then I've had good players that are now playing in college and major contributors on their team. So it's a mixed bag of problems. I don't want to call it problems, but opportunities and I like working with all of them. Yeah.
When doing your training, Vic, so we know we got pro days coming up soon. Combine is happening as we speak.
Right.
When you're training for the two, and say for you specifically, like if a player came to you and he has both, he actually has a combine invite.
Right.
Would you train him any differently for his combine, for his pro day?
Yeah.
And
definitely.
if you are, in which instances?
So the combine is different than like just general training in the sense that you know exactly what you're preparing for before you get there. You have the test has already been handed to you. So I don't need to do all the extra stuff I don't need to worry about, because if you don't take care of the combine, there may not even be another opportunity. Especially if you're a pro day guy, like you have that one opportunity to show what you can do, and if you don't take care of it, that's the end of the road for you. If there's been a couple guys I've trained and my agent told me about where it's a small school and the scouts will say, if you don't run a 4.4, you can go ahead and leave now. So they have to take care of business right away. So I'll the 40, broad jump, vert, 3-cone, shuttle, and then position drills. And even the position drill is not, if you're a receiver, you know what routes you're going to run. You run the curl, slant, dig, post corner, go. You don't have to, there's no guesswork. Master that.
Well, I know, like, is there a different type of materials that these athletes use at the combine? I know we were speaking earlier about, before the show, about track cleats, certain cleats made just for the 40, for the 3-cone. Can you talk more about the certain type of cleats these players are wearing?
The biggest thing is for the 40, I know every major brand wants to have the fastest person at the combine run their shoes. It's a huge marketing opportunity for them. I want to say it was Adidas was offering an island to, if you can break the combine in their shoes, or break the record in their shoes, and then Nike was giving somebody an island and whatever. So they have both most athletes will wear a 40 cleat that is different than what they'll run for their position drills, so that they have a light cleat that has good traction and will help them run the fastest time possible.
Okay. Can you break down some of the training tips you give guys when they do their 40s, and some that might get overlooked, or some fine nuances and details that don't get enough exposure that you need to have during that training process to get ready for a fast 40?
Yeah, sure. The biggest thing is, it's really two things. Your 40 starts with your 10. If you have to get out. It's mostly an acceleration event. So if you can't get from 0 to 60 in a fast time, then there's just not enough room to get up to top speed. That's what they're measuring. And then the second thing is stay relaxed. A lot of guys think if I try harder, I'll run faster. Or it's kind of counterintuitive. You want to stay relaxed and let your muscles move fluidly, and that will help you to run faster.
Okay. During my time in college, I know I was going to ask you, like, how do you feel about, I guess we call them weight room warriors, some of these guys that, they can kill these numbers, kill 40 or whatever, but they don't have the same impact on the field. And then I know when I was in college, my college coach, we did lift weights, but we made sure it was targeting specific joints or muscles. Like, I know the main thing with my coach, we always did squats or cleans from the ground, because we always wanted to work on that triple extension. I know that's big too, especially for when you're running the 40, like, what is it, your hip, knees, and ankles moving all in one, correct?
Right.
Yeah,
training is kind of, a lot of the major points of training haven't really changed in 50 years. But the way some of the biggest changes have come from recovery and regeneration techniques, where a lot of guys are getting smarter and realize you don't have to beat your body up every single time you come into the weight room, and eating what you eat and what you put in your body matters a whole lot. the challenge for a strength coach is his job isn't necessarily to get you combine ready. It's to get you ready for the season. So what his focus is going to be, or her focus is going to be tailored towards that, and not necessarily helping you get to the combine. A lot of guys, some people stay home or to their school and train, and then a lot of these guys are going to basically resorts and spending their 8 weeks there getting ready.
Yeah, that's good insight, definitely. I don't know, is there any, I don't know if you've been following the combine recently, is there any, player you think that sticks out to you that's going to have those crazy numbers?
I'm not sure. I haven't been able to follow as much this year as I have in the past. I know John Ross, was it 2 years ago, broke the 40 record. There's always one guy that you don't hear about that is just going to do some things you don't think are humanly possible. I remember my time in Seattle, there was a guy named Jamison Cons. He was a 7th-round pick, tight end from Kent State. He was like 6'3", 235 maybe. He ran 4.3, 11-foot broad, like 48-inch vert. It was, or maybe not 48, it's like 42-inch vert. It was, and that got him drafted.
Yeah, some money.
That's good.
All right, so we're going to get into our topics for the day. We got Kyler Murray. His official measurables are out. We're going to have combine talk. And we also got, we're going to talk about the 7-on-7 league, something that's grown and got bigger with high schools across the country. So let's get into it. Kyler Murray, he weighed in at 207 and measured in at 5'10". And 1/8, 3/8, I believe. So he's right there at that 5'10" mark. Were you surprised by the measurables, Coach Dlane? What was your thoughts on his measurables?
Yeah, a little bigger, a little taller than what I was going to give him. My main thing was more so the weight. I was about a 190, 195 guy coming out of high school, going into college. And I know in between my junior and sophomore year, I got up to over 200 pounds. I was considerably slower, considerably. And that's my main question with him is the bulking up and adding this weight that's not used to his frame. Would it slow him down or slow down his quickness or, scat-like ability that he has? I wonder if it's going to take any effect adding that weight. That was my main thing.
I agree with you. I think that's spot on because I think they were comparing to Russell Wilson. Well, Russell Wilson actually had to lose weight for his combine. He weighed in at 204 and was 5'10". And because, he's naturally plays 220. That's his natural weight. And so, part of Kyler Murray's game is the explosiveness, the speed. 207, I think he bulked up. That's not natural.
Yeah.
Victor, what do you think about his weight gain?
Let me ask you guys a question. Is he testing at the combine?
He's not. He's not testing at the combine.
So there you go. The numbers that you put up at the combine follow you the rest of your career. So every team wants a baseline of you get released 5 years in your career. Like, what is your what can I expect you to be? What weight can I expect you to be at? How fast can I expect you to be? So that 207, 5'10" will stay with him.
And that's
forever.
What he wanted, basically.
So we'll see what he weighs in at his pro day. I guarantee it'll be at least 10 pounds lighter, and he's going to light that clock up.
Do you think there's any possibility he skips the measurements in the weight since he says, you know what, I already did that, I'm just going to do this 40?
Maybe. It's possible. I don't there's no that 207 it's in concrete now, so that is what it's going to be.
How do you feel? I know you probably heard about the hand size myth and thing about did we get his measurables for that? Did he even size up?
Yeah,
9.5.
9.5 inches.
Yeah.
Okay. How you feel about that, Vic? Being a quarterback.
It does matter. I know for me, I can't remember. I can't even palm a basketball, so I have small hands. But I've never balls never slipped out of my hand, never fumbled any of those things. It does matter. The way you grip a football and the pressure points that you can put on a football will dictate how you can spiral. There's certain cities, if you're in Buffalo, Chicago, where Green Bay, where it's windy and cold and snows and all that stuff, being able to grip a football is a huge advantage.
I could definitely, I don't have the biggest hands. I played receiver. It wasn't really an issue, but I will say, I would never forget this. My junior year in high school, I'm playing a rainy playoff game against Monte Vista. They called a trick play for me, a receiver pass. I could not throw the ball in the rain. It was the ugliest throw of my life. And that's why I said, I don't know how my QB, anyone's throwing out here today. So
you see, like, a guy like Teddy Bridgewater stays with gloves on now.
Yeah, that's good.
So actually, so I dislocated my wrist a couple years ago, and one of my friends, a doctor in New Mexico, he worked on it. He did something to my hand. So if you look, like, my right thumb is lower. He loosened up something in here. Yeah. So I would guess that my hand is probably bigger now than it was when I measured it from whatever he did. Like,
and for the audio listeners out there, Victor's right hand is considerably lower. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah,
it's crazy. Bigger, something different.
Yeah,
it's life of a football player. You don't get them injuries, the weird fingers, all that. Yeah. So, I mean, this Kyler Murray thing is interesting.
How you think? What's the best fit for him, drafting wise? What team you think he could do the most damage with, Vic?
That's a good question. The ideal situation, if he could find a Kansas City-like situation where there's already pieces around him, an offensive-minded coach that can manage his risk, meaning his ability to put him in the right situations without having him do too much and let his natural ability show up while he's still learning the game, and not let him get beat up like David Carr or some of these other quarterbacks. So I'm not sure. I can't think of a specific team right off the top of my head, but I know one thing: winners win, and this guy's been a winner his whole life. Wherever he goes, he's going to be successful.
Oh, definitely. I think when you say ideal situation, I think a lot of people thinking the Cardinals could pick him first. It's
Cliff Kingsbury system.
And the GM came out and said, Rosen is our quarterback for now, and that was a big telling. I think in perfect situations, I don't know why I haven't mentioned this before. What if he's Drew Brees' successor? Sean Payton.
He won't be in the draft that long.
No, I'm just saying, if you're the Saints, you're like, hey, we were one call away from going to the Super Bowl. I don't need him my next year first or second.
Right.
I could, unless something crazy like the Ricky Williams trade or back in the day, it could be, I'm gonna give you 3 firsts and my second. I'm gonna trade up from 29th to the 1.
I got a real good question for you, Vic, because they said as far as, I think it was Lincoln Riley touching on Kyler Murray not having many balls batted down or whatever, and they was questioning his height.
Yeah.
Is that more so on the play caller, or is that more so on the coach as far as finding those lanes and having them giving basically the quarterback the best successful, short quarterback best successful game plan where he doesn't get balls knocked down?
So there's two parts to it. That there's one part that everyone's missing, and the first part is this: he's been 5'10" or lower his entire life. So it's not like he was 6'3" and then now he's playing at 5'10". He's found the different arm slots and how to throw the ball that way. That's not new to him. It's not something he's going to have to figure out. The second thing is we talk about these 6'6" linemen, 6'4" linemen. The buzzword at the combine you'll hear for a lineman is the knee bender, right? So that 6'6" lineman isn't playing at 6'6", he's playing at 6'2", 6'1", because he's got to squat down and find a base, or he's going to get ran through Von Miller and whoever. If you're standing up tall, you're going to get one arm to the ground. So that guy's playing at 6'2". If his arm, he's 5'10", we're going to release the ball at 6'3". So that lane is not really an issue.
Yeah, okay. I think that's a great point because we've seen I think the leader in batted passes last year was I believe it was one of the taller quarterbacks.
I know. I think you told me. Was it Ben? You told me the other day. It was somebody. It was a bigger guy, a bigger quarterback. Tannehill.
Yeah, Ryan Tannehill. Yeah, like anyway, he's like 6'7".
Yeah,
and we know he's the reason he's going to be done in Miami.
So as a play caller, would you call like a different game if you got a quarterback like that though, like a small quarterback like that? Or are you just calling your calls to still be able to push the ball downfield?
If it became an issue, I might change it, but it hasn't been an issue.
Okay.
So
I don't see. To me, it's like if you're a smaller quarterback, you don't really you do everything well, So it's look at Baker Mayfield, best rookie QB last year, plain and simple. Height didn't matter. If he was 6'4", he would have been the first pick without argument. Russell Wilson, never been an issue. I mean, he's going to be a Hall of Fame soon. Look, Drew Brees. I mean, when you say more, it's Drew Brees. So I think when the height doesn't really matter, it's more of your skill set. And height, I think I've seen people mention is used as an excuse if they don't succeed. You know, if I could draft Josh Allen, right? Mm-hmm. I think Josh Allen can throw very well for the Bills, but he fits the athletic mold, the arm talent, and so if he doesn't succeed, you're like, you know what?
He just didn't live up to the bill. Yeah, that's
exactly. You know, but if you grab a 5'10" guy, you know what, he didn't succeed because he was short. You know, it's just the first excuse. And if you're a GM, if you're putting your livelihood on the line for that player, you know, whoever drafts Kyler Murray, they're putting their paycheck like.
That's what I was about to say. It got to be like he got to find him a GM in a situation where they set like you can't be on shaky ground if you're a GM. You trying to go get Kyler Murray because if it don't pan out,
that's why it has to be, you know, a new regime like the Cardinals, or you know, an older coach like Sean Payton who has the say so. To, you know what, I'm taking this guy because I'm Sean Payton, you know, or like Andy Reid. He took Pat Mahomes, like, you know, I know I'm putting I know that. And, you know, lastly, you know, I have to mention, you know, we watched, you know, like I said, we're recording this on a Saturday afternoon. The combine and wide receivers are going right on the TV next to us. So DK Metcalf, this dude is amazing. So he measured in at 6'3", almost 6'4", 230, and today came out around a 4.33. 40-inch vert. Like this man made himself some money. I mean, do you think he locked himself as a top 10 pick? Like with this combine performance today?
Most definitely.
What about you, Coach Dlane?
Yeah, definitely, man. I seen some his measurables. They had him next to Julio Jones, and it was ridiculous. He's taller than Julio. He's running faster than Julio, and he has a higher vertical jump than Julio by about 2 inches. That's insane. And Julio is already all worldly when we look at him. This guy, is it him or is it his teammate that's related to? Don't he have a teammate that's related to Antonio Brown?
That AJ Brown. I know there's AJ. He's related too because I know for a fact.
I don't know if he is. I know he works out and plays.
He got Hollywood Brown as well from. I know it's his cousin.
Alabama, Oklahoma. Yeah. I got you. That's his cousin too.
Yeah. So yeah, I just had to
I seen these guys working out with Antonio. Man, they look definitely like some promising prospects, especially at receiver. Especially the Metcalf dude, man. He got a big radius. I think he'd be a good NFL receiver for sure. He can do some damage.
Oh yeah, no, I'm excited to see, man. Those times you don't see those every day from a man that size. You know, I watched a lot of college football. I mean, I've seen him make a lot of plays. The only question I think about him is just he played opposite of A.J. Brown. So, you know, top receivers in college always deal with double coverage. He's never had to deal with that one time. And you're a physical specimen like that. I mean, you're pushing these little DBs who will never sniff the NFL out the way. So, but yeah, so lastly, you know, in this pod, we want to get into, you know, something that's, you know, changing the game of football. You got going across America. I'd probably say, you know, got real big these last, 3-4 years. It's the 7-on-7s. Coach Dlane, Victor, you guys, you know, have your own 7-on-7 team. You know, what do you think the 7-on-7 off-season leagues are, you know, doing in high school football? I'm going to start with you, Victor.
I would say the biggest thing that's happening is you can see some of these high school kids, their skill level is just off the charts. Some of these one-handed catches they're making, their ability to get in and out of breaks, some of these throws these quarterbacks can make, they're playing year-round, and it's showing on the skill side.
Yeah, man. For me, I was just shocked at how big, you know, this thing has taken off, because I think I'm class of 14. Like I was telling Vic, my year was just when it was getting big, the passing downs, all these different tournaments, 7-on-7s. It was just now hitting the market or whatever. Now I come back a couple years later, get introduced to Coach James here, and I join his team. They sponsor, we travel. It's crazy now. So that's the main thing. I like that it's getting exposure for these kids, definitely. But I got some questions for you, Coach, on this. Because I've been talking to a lot of college coaches, and so far I done got about 50-50 back on this. But how do you feel? What do you think your reaction is to these college coaches? Because they're telling me some of them don't really want to speak to the 7-on-7 coach. Some of them like, why are we getting directed to the 7-on-7 coach? That's a third party. We want to go speak to the high school coach. Like, or why isn't this kid here this weekend with his team, his high school team, but he's with his 7-on-7 team? Like, so how do you feel about college coaches? View on this.
First, it's because it's kind of a new thing. There's a lot of coaches that haven't really familiarized themselves with it, and it's happened so fast where they have their opinion on it and may not have necessarily seen it in its depth and how it's evolved even from when you played. It's changed drastically. So if you have a problem with your kid playing against top competition across the country and getting better at football, then I don't know what to tell you.
I mean, I look at it more as I don't see how it could be, a problem. You get more information than me. Like, okay, I can talk to a high school coach, your 7-on-7 coach. If I get two different views, maybe, or I can figure out the real you when we're recruiting you.
More information, the better.
Exactly. I think in the competition is, let's say I play in a weaker league in my high school, right? Well, you know what? I go join one of these 7-on-17s. I'm going against this 4-star corner.
Right.
And you know what? I had a great day against him, so that shows maybe I can play with the best. So I think that, and then like you said, Dlane, you said the development of skills. So my skills are getting worked all the time. I know I was in high school. We only did 7-on-7s in the summer.
At the high school.
With the high school in the summer, so it was only a month, and it was only with your high school team.
Mm-hmm.
And so, man, I think me and Coach Dlane talked. The only negative I can really see to this personally, outside of, recruiters having to make an extra trip, who cares? I mean, some of these guys are playing basketball or at track on the weekends anyways, is teaching, bad techniques as far as linebackers.
Unrealistic drives.
Yeah, unrealistic drives.
Yeah.
The clock automatically going off in the QB's head from pressure.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so, what negatives do you guys see from 7-7, if any?
You just touched on something, especially more so with the quarterbacks, and for me, is the linebacker drops. We getting these great drops in this 7-on-7, right? It's passing, but we throw 11-on-11 here. They got to read and react to, is it a token fake? Is it some play action here? Are we getting any run action, split action where we got to step up first? But they're not getting those same drops, So it's like you're getting 100 reps of doing it the right way, but then you're getting 100 reps of doing it the other way. It's like, all right, are you getting better or are you staying stagnant? And then it's the same thing for me for the quarterbacks as far as they're getting and forcing their head. They're always gonna have a clean pocket, which I don't think that we all know that's not realistic, especially in the game. I just think it should grow to the point where you almost can get this thing to almost like 11-on-11. Add the lineman in there, give them some face masks or whatever, helmets, almost how the other players got it, but let them go up front and bully each other up front and give the quarterback a realistic picture and pocket.
So Victor, how can you see 7-on-7 advancing to that 11-on-11 platform, or do you think it would be too hard to do?
No, and because 11-on-11 is too close to real football. As far you can compartmentalize 7-on-7. If it's a different thing and it looks different, then the average casual fan can see that it is different. If it starts to look something like real football, now it gets compared to real football. Well, it's not what I'm used to seeing. What is this?
Yeah.
And so with that, you can also say, yeah, every high school runs 7-on-7, right, at practice. So you as an athlete or as a player, you should know how to compartmentalize. All right, this is this and that is that. Don't put them together. Mm-hmm. If I'm playing real football, I need to be a little bit closer if I'm a linebacker and stop the run first. The one thing I don't like about 7-on-7 is the 4-second play clock. It's too long, and quarterbacks don't necessarily have to read and go through progressions because you have enough time to stand there and just find the open guy.
What's Stephen A. saying? Call your girlfriend. Sit back there. Call your mom. Check it. The quarterbacks, they sitting back there, man, all day. They had me pissed off at a few of these camps we already
It's hard
had,
to cover.
Vic.
It's hard to cover for 4 seconds.
Yeah.
I don't care who you are.
So it's 7-on-7 like the new AAU because that's what they calling it. And I know some of the cons to it that some of these coaches are saying is these 7-on-7 teams aren't getting that same practice time. Same way like with the AAU, the college NCAA coaches saying, oh, these kids don't practice when they link up and join together. They just play. It's a raw collection of talent joining up to play. Just a pickup game. That's how some of these guys are seeing it. They're not really looking at the skill development like we was talking about.
I think a way to solve the issues you say, like as far as 11-on-11, I think I just thought of it now as far as let's keep the 7-on-7s, right? We still want that. Let's create a way for D linemen and O linemen to have their own skill sets. Like you can still have your one-on-ones.
They have those. It's also out there.
Okay,
a one-on-one lineman challenge. Yeah, they still do that.
I mean, I think if that just gets as big, so you got your lineman, D linemen working their skills all year, in season, off season against real competition and better competition, and you got the 7-on-7 guys, And then when you get into camps with your teams, you're practicing everything. But, I got, as a receiver, I did 707 in my offseason. I got stronger in the offseason. I'm a better route runner. Everything. So,
Vic, how would you, or matter of fact, we talked about it off camera a little bit. How do you feel about these recruiting consultants being out there? So, Zay, to let you inform you a little bit, when me and Coach are out here at these different camps and 707 tournaments, we always you see stands, and then you see guys just walking around passing out their cards, but they also have their own stands, and it's recruiting consultants basically, and almost scam artists. I don't really like it, man. They out here, they see, oh, this kid got some talent. They know he might have a single parent home. Let me try to work the mom out some money and let them know, oh, I can get your son viewed here, or I can get your son tape here, I can get this coach to see that. Like, how do you feel about, what's your view on these consultants being on our sidelines or whatever, trying to get to our players?
Gotcha. With anything, there's a good and a bad to it. There are definitely some people that you can talk to that have the right interest in mind, and I know National Preps is good. I know Trent Herzog with them. I'm pretty sure that's a free scouting service, and they have no agenda. They're just looking for the good athletes and help them get to where they need to go. Of course, there are those guys out there that will say what needs to be said to try to get what they're trying to accomplish. I've had a kid call me and ask me about, do I know about such and such program? They guaranteed me a D1 scholarship. I have coaches at X, Y, and Z. It's like, well, I also have a coach at X, Y, and Z. Let me call them and see if you've ever heard of this guy. Oh, of course you haven't. Go ahead and hang up and block that number.
Right. Yeah, I think, like you said, I think there is a good and a bad, definitely. Because, I think there's a market for these recruiting consultants, partly because, one, there's, football and, the popularity of it. But two, I think a lot of, high school coaches don't do their justice in helping recruit, And I think that's where it's been a market. Like, a lot of kids, I haven't seen a college coach, like, I was all league. I was this and that. How come I haven't seen one college coach? I'm 6 foot. I did well at the Nike Combine. Where I haven't seen, my grades are good, and then the reason my coach has zero connections, So
I think that's even tell me about the clearinghouse. It's a bunch of things.
Yeah, the clearinghouse. And I, someone from me, I was fortunate enough to go to McClymonds High School, where they have a whole program set up. You're doing SAT prep. You're in clearinghouse. You're going to the camps. It's a routine. It's a system set up. But a lot of high schools don't. So here comes the,
And I was going to touch on that. That's another thing I think a lot of these people understand is a lot of these former 7-on-7 coaches are former players. So they do have those connections. They just got done playing. They have connections, some on the highest level, like Coach James here himself. He played it for the NFL. So, you got different levels of success that these coaches have touched. But some of these high school coaches that I've personally been around this past year, is my first year coaching high school football, but I met a few that has zero knowledge on the recruiting process. Don't know how to send they tapes out, or either just don't have the connection. Like you said, a lot of them still aren't on Twitter or Instagram, social media. Like today's day and age, you almost got to get on social media to promote your player. So it's like, I feel like that's the positive side to the 7-on-7 thing, especially with the coaches. They do have these relationships with colleges because they just got done playing themselves. You feel me?
Definitely. Let's see where it goes. Football is continuing to grow, and it's the biggest entertainment business in the country, and it trickles down all the way to the high school, and right. A lot of people are making money. But
we haven't seen it reach its peak yet. It's still in its infancy. There's a lot to
still be ironed out. It's different nuances and stuff they still fixing, and kinks and stuff they working out, man.
It's exciting to see. I think with 7-on-7, we're gonna lead to that, kind of like AU style, like, hey, did you get invited for Vegas? You're going those trips. I think that's gonna be fun for the kids. Oh yeah, I'm saying, but just like where it's national, so that's gonna be exciting. I think we're gonna be there soon. But thank you, Victor, for coming on the show today, man. I appreciate it.
Definitely.
You gave us a lot of good insight.
You throw your social media out there, Vic. Throw your social media.
Proving Grounds SP.
All right, y'all. So any kids out there, or college athletes, or guys trying to take the next level, hit up Proving Grounds, man. He's gonna get you right, up and coming, and man, like you say, he's done it all. I just want to say thank you for everyone tuning in today on this episode. Man, thank you for continuing to grow with us. You know, I want to give a quick shout out to our camera guy, Nguyen. He does a great job coming out here, helping us out record. Our sound engineer, John, man, thank you.
Don John. Turn me up, Don
man,
John.
They're working hard, man, editing, doing all the stuff me and Coach Dlane can't do. So, man, I appreciate y'all, you know, doing this with us. You know, tune in next week to the episode. And, you know, especially because, you know, we're doing it bigger. We on Apple Music now, and we're on Spotify. So you can get us at SoundCloud, YouTube, Spotify, and, you know, Apple Music. So, we, you know, a lot of platforms to access us. So tune in next week. Thank you.
Still went for it. It's time to change the club.